Good day, this is Thumbs United, and we are recording our creative stream, and live streaming our creative stream, and are finishing off where we left off 2 days ago. I took yesterday off. I needed a break. Number one, two, I was rendering a bunch of things, so the stream wouldn't have been that great. And like I said, I was just tired, and then I took a break, and I'm like, I'm going to eat some chocolate, because I was, like, not feeling the best. I haven't been feeling the best for, like, the past 2 or 3 weeks. And, so I was like, I'm finally going to open up my stash of Easter chocolate that I got for Easter last year. I kid you not. Well, I mean, it's technically this year still. But so I opened it up, and then I started eating these chocolates, and I was like, this is pretty good. And then and they're like these little round ones, and they have like something in the center. And so I thought, it's like the Lindt or the Lindor chocolate, where it's, chocolate on the outside, but then like a chocolate mousse on the inside. So I'm eating them, and I was like, this is good. And then I'm like, wait a second, is that, like, at first I thought it was like a softer chocolate. But then on the second and third one, it's like, I don't think this is chocolate. I think this is malt. And I have a gluten allergy, and malt is concentrated gluten. It's like every problem you have with eating wheat, it is like exponentially higher with malt, which is why I can't drink beer or anything. So and that's a whole nother story. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. I had 5, and they're small chocolates. I was like, okay, I'm stopping. So I go to bed. Well, I was watching a ton of videos, but then I go to bed and fall asleep. Everything's great. Like, I needed that rest. I mean, even I didn't go to bed any earlier. It was just I was working on computer stuff. I actually, just watched a stream. Technically, I didn't watch it. I was playing a video game and watching a stream, but it was just like, I just focus on doing nothing. And so that's what I did, and it helped. But I woke up this morning, and I actually woke up really early. I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, like ready to go. I was like, I feel great. Let's get the day started. But I was like, I have to stay up late. So I forced myself to go, hop back in bed and go back to sleep. So then I woke up later, and I was in so much pain. The pain didn't wake me up. It was I woke up naturally, and then my body was like, just to let you know, those chocolates you ate with the malt, those just got to your intestines. You're about to die. And I was like, no, I don't want to die. And it was so much pain that I was like, I might have to go to the hospital, because I've had allergic reactions, and I do get an undominable abdomen, cramps and everything, because literally your intestines are freaking out and contracting, and it is very painful. But this was on a whole new level, and I think it's because I haven't had an allergic reaction in over a year, that my body really freaked out, and it's just we don't remember how to even process gluten, which usually it's just it ejects it as fast as possible, which is gross, but that would have been preferred. But it was just my intestines were just felt like they were on fire. If I curled up in the fetal position with my legs tucked into my chest, then it kind of felt better. I think it was because I was squishing them to death, my intestines, but it was so painful. And then after about an hour, I was like, I don't know if I can do anything today. And so then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make my coffee and then stream. I was streaming in the early afternoon. I started at 12 at 1. And after I made my coffee and sat down, I couldn't eat anything. It started to go away. So then I was like, okay, we're gonna stream the video games in the morning. The games, And that, I mean, eventually it went away, and like now it's completely gone away. But that was an experience. It was like, because sometimes like, am I really still allergic? And then I get like the hopes of like maybe the doctor's office got my papers mixed up with somebody else's papers, and I'm really not allergic to as many things as they say. And nope, still extremely allergic. And that was like dreadful. And then, so going back to the other story, so how I discovered I'm not going to tell the story of my allergies, but I didn't know I had food allergies, and they didn't become a problem. This sounds like I'm telling you how I got the allergies, but it's a long story, and I'm not going to tell it. But I did not find out I was allergic to everything that I'm allergic to till I was 22. And so one of the funny things is like when I talk to my friends, I was like, have you ever noticed that like when you eat popcorn, you know, you get kind of shaky and you get really hungry afterwards? And they're like, no. I was like, okay, so that's just me. And I just thought that was something that happened when people eat popcorn. Turns out I'm allergic to corn, and my body was like trying to not flush it out, but just if I ate corn, I would get like no nutrients. So it was like eating negative food. I would just get hungrier and get shakier, and so then of course I eat more popcorn at the theater. But then so that was something that I thought was like funny. When I found out I was allergic to corn, I was like, no wonder I'm the only one with that reaction. And so then my favorite drink, like at the Coney Islands and stuff, which are like American diners and everything, is the chocolate malts. It's like a chocolate shake, but it's better. And whenever I went to this one Coney Island, I would order a chocolate malt, and so every time I went there, I would get sick. And so my mom was like, I get the cheese fries, and then I get a malt, and then I get onion rings. And so I was like, maybe my mom was thinking maybe it's like the fake cheese from the cheese fries. And this is when I was younger, like 12, 13. But no, it's because the malt was, pure gluten. And my body was like, no, we can't handle that. So I got it, I would get an upset stomach from that. So it's just funny. Because when I found out, like, everything I'm allergic to, it's like, oh my goodness, this makes sense. But I'm allergic to like 7 different types of food. And so that's why the elimination diet didn't work. The elimination diet is you take the things that are, the most common food allergies, and you eliminate one of those things from your diet. And I think it's supposed to be for 2 weeks, and you see if you get better. And it's something everyone should do like once a year, because food allergies do come up even if you're not allergic to anything. Like, you can develop a food allergy to different foods, and you can also develop an intolerance, which is just like a food allergy, but it's kind of on the weaker scale. It's like let's say you can't handle milk. You're not lactose intolerant. You are intolerant to milk. You don't have an allergic reaction. You might just get bloated, constipated, and things like that. It's not necessarily a full allergic reaction. An allergic reaction to milk would be, severe abdominal pain, throwing up, and throat closing and difficulty breathing. That's what makes it an allergy. It's kind of the severity. But so the reason like with the elimination diet, it's like milk, eggs, seafood. So like for 2 weeks, you would not eat anything with milk, and then at the end of the 2 weeks, you kind of think, did I do better or did I not? Do I feel better now or do I not feel better? And so if you don't feel better at all, you start eating milk again and dairy products. And then you cut out, I already forgot what the list was. It was milk. Then you cut out eggs. You don't eat anything with eggs. And it's an easier and cheaper way to do it than with doing a test. But I do not recommend you get the scratch test. You can get a blood test, which will be faster and more accurate than the scratch test, because the blood test will find things that the scratch test might not. So what the scratch test does is they take, like, let's say they're testing for corn. They take kind of like a concentrated version of corn on a needle, and then they poke you with it. And if a bump or hives start breaking out around where they poked, then they know you're allergic to it. But with the scratch test, there's like 20 things they search for, and that's it. So if you so let's say you're allergic to, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Let's say if they think you're allergic to grains like corn, wheat, soy, walnuts, they would only test for those ones. With the blood test, they test for, they test for nuts, they test for grains, they test for, shellfish, they test for tree pollen or trees that you would be allergic to. They search for dandruff. Pet fur. They test. There's more things they can test with the blood that may not show up in a scratch test. And the problem is with the scratch test, you need to break into hives right away for them to know. And so it's not really good. A lot of doctors that don't know what they're talking about will have you do a scratch test. Don't. And they'll tell you that it's more accurate, which it kind of is, but it's also not very encompassing, if that makes sense. But the nice thing about the blood test too is it tells you how allergic you are. So the thing I'm allergic to most is corn. The second thing is gluten. I'm technically not allergic to gluten. I'm allergic to wheat, like as a whole, anything made from wheat. And so I just say gluten-free. But I always have to check because a lot of the allergy food that say they're gluten-free are like actually made from corn. So it's a big problem. And so that's kind of what happened this morning. I almost died. But let's get started. I've been playing around a little bit as we're talking. Not much. This might just be like in the opposite order of when I shot. Well, no, because this one. So right now we're organizing art, like murals and statues in Milwaukee. That's what this project is. This episode. And we started this episode kind of 2 nights ago. I don't know, I got really tired. Usually I never stop a stream mid progress, but I was like, you know what, I felt like I was tired, and any of the work I was doing I might have to like redo later because I was tired. So now we're looking for kind of paintings. like painted on fixtures and everything. So we're going to get this. I was gonna say I could have sworn I had better shots of this mural. It's like, I know I've seen them on my 35mm camera, and then I was like, oh, that's right, it was the 35mm project in the digital color. And so this is all 3D footage. We're only looking at the left camera, and then when I render this, I submit the Blender file to my Linux box, which is like, it's consumer grade hardware, but it's running, Linux as a server. So I submit this to Linux, and then it will render with the left camera footage, and then it will render again using all the footage from the right camera. And then after that, I have a special program that combines the two video files, so they're in full resolution HD. It could be 4K. All these photos are above 4K quality. These ones are not. These are only HD. And again, these photos are actually VR compatible for 180 degrees. Technically 122 degrees. But it's like 58 degrees shy of being 180 degrees. But and so these ones I will use for the VR edition. And with the Milwaukee project, there's going to be it's a multi-format project, and so similar to how, well, not similar. So with Project Newfoundland, and I'll post the stuff. So with Project Newfoundland, I'm sorry, I'm breathing loud into it, and then mic. Okay, with Project Newfoundland, it was a series shot in 3D, and because of that, there's the left camera and the right camera. But so when I upload it to YouTube, they used to support 3D really well. They do not anymore. And let's see. I might want to keep. I haven't forgotten what I was talking about. I'm just concentrating. I'm seeing if this is like enough of a difference. And there's not. It's like exactly the same. I mean, it's a different angle, a different zoom length. Like this one is very different, but that one's not. Which I hate getting rid of photos, even if they're very similar. But it has to be done. And so with this one, I'm going for like interest. Like that one, you can barely see it. But this one, okay, so I'm going that to that because it kind of matches the color space, color temperature in there. Oh, you know what? We're gonna go that one. Okay, so that's done. So with Project Newfoundland, it was recorded in 3D video, and you might be wondering, well, like, why do you present it in a flotation style with photographic animation? And so what I ended up doing was the footage was fine, but there was enough content in terms of with movement with the actual video. There could be like maybe 12 or 15 episodes with motion and everything from the video, just normal video editing. But there was a lot of content that was filmed that wasn't making the cut. But if it was a still frame, it could make the cut. And so I experimented a little bit, and then I was like, you know what? All the stuff that has motion is essentially, still life, not moving. And so why don't we just take the video part out and just take screenshots, not screenshots, but, frames, and animate the frames. And so that's why Project Newfoundland looks a little different than the other projects I've rendered, and it's gonna look a lot different than this because these are all taken as photographs. They're higher quality than just a frame of a video. So what happens is, because it's a frame of a video that's shot at 1080p, when I zoom in, it never goes below 720p, but it does lose resolution as you zoom in. And so these ones are going to be much high quality. It's never going to dip beneath 1080p. The pixels are going to have to be, downsampled, which is the opposite of upscaling. It's when you have like a 4K asset and you have to scale it down to 1080p. You really want that. You never want to shoot in like 1080p and then deliver in 1080p. I mean, it's fine if you have a really good camera, but you really want to like shoot in 4K and then and then shrink the image down, because then you get rid of a lot of the noise and everything that would be in the image. And so it will still look better in HD. It won't be better than 4K, but it will be better if you have one camera and you shoot it in HD, and then you shoot with the exact same camera and you shoot in 4K, and you export both movies after you edited it into HD. The 4K footage version will still look a lot better than the one that you shot in 1080p HD, because there's just so much more data that the pixels can get the color data from, and that makes just for a cleaner, better image. Okay. And so but going back to Project Newfoundland, so it was filmed in 3D as video, not as photos. And because of that, it's released in side-by-side, which is a format for 3D TVs and monitors, and that support 3D. And so what you would do is, if you have a 3D TV, you would load it up on YouTube, and then once it's in full screen, you put your TV in 3D mode, and then usually your TV will say, "Is this side by side?" and you say yes, and then it will automatically work with your 3D TV, but you have to set it manually to tell it it's 3D, and so that's kind of complicated for most people. YouTube used to really support 3D on PCs. Like, you could do anaglyph, which is red and blue. So now, like, they're all sculptures, but we're gonna get kind of like, well, no, forget that. We're gonna get abstract sculptures, so not figures, not people, which I guess you could consider these two, and the love. So we're gonna get our abstract stuff. And so, in addition to the 3D side-by-side format, the 3D video files, because I render 1080p the left eye then the right eye. Like I have the full resolution 3D, which a lot of programs, when you're video editing, they won't let you export the left eye and the right eye. You have to have it only in the side-by-side format. So that was the biggest problem, because I had to develop my own software to do that, because Adobe didn't support it well. GoPro had their Cineform codec, which worked very well, but crashed a lot. And then, what else was there? Oh, there was Avid, who did support 3D, but you could only export. I had Avid Media Composer, and it had a limit of 1080p, so I couldn't export the left eye and the right eye. It had to be side by side, and the highest resolution you could do was 1080p. So that wasn't an option, because then I'm just losing quality. But and so because I had the full resolution, files from rendering with Blender and my Linux box with custom coding, I was able to figure out a way to get it into kind of VR for Google Cardboard, and so that's just a VR headset that you would use your smartphone for. So like you can go out and buy a cardboard kit for like $5. I recommend you get a VR headset for like your smartphone. And it looks like an actual VR set, but they're $18. They are really cheap, and you can get one with a remote. I got one. I forgot what the name was, but the one that I really like is the VR box. But I don't think the company makes them anymore. But there are a couple of generic ones that look exactly like the VR box, and some of them even come with a remote for $18, and it's a Bluetooth remote. And the remote helps because you can load in you have to put your phone in, and so with the remote you can start and stop your 360 videos, and then there are apps that will let you play 3D videos and other things in there. But the VR that I released for Project Newfoundland is released in 4K, so that's HD, full resolution HD for the left eye in VR, and full resolution HD for the right eye. So if you have a phone that does 2K or 4K, you're looking at full resolution 3D, which is not something a lot of people can get hold of. Like even in movie theaters and stuff, you're not getting full resolution. You're either losing temporal resolution or you're losing spatial resolution. So I've talked about that before, but it's and so that's the thing that kind of sucks. That until really VR came out, you always lost some aspect of quality with VR. I mean with 3D. So like with the red and blue, you lose, color quality. Your eyes adjust to the red and blue glasses, but it still takes a while, and it's not fantastic. And then with passive glasses, which is polarization, you lose half the resolution for each eye, because the pixels are interlaced, so half the pixels go to the left eye, half the pixels go to the right eye. And then with active shutter, I mean, you think, oh great, you get all the pixels, except there's this thing called temporal resolution, so the image is actually on the screen. Each frame is on the screen for less amount of time, so it doesn't give your brain a chance to take in all the details. So while you do still get 1080p, you're getting 1080p at half half the amount of time. And so that one makes my eyes go out of focus. It's very difficult for me to accurately edit 3D with Active Shutter, because Active Shutter will make really bad 3D things look passable, whereas passive 3D is more exact and precise. And so bad things in 3D are not glossed over with passive glasses. But like with all that, VR really has none of those problems. I haven't saved in forever. So with VR, if you can get a VR headset that has either 1080p in the left eye, or 1080p on the right eye, or you have a smartphone in the VR goggles that has a 4K display, then you can look at full HD resolution VR 3D videos. So all those videos are released in 4K, and so like the Android phones, Samsung stuff, their displays are over 2K. I think it's like 2.5K, and so we're gonna start off with this image. So like we're getting there. But the Milwaukee project, long story. The Milwaukee project is not going to be like that. So, I mean, it kind of is going to be like Project Newfoundland, but there's a 4K edition that's coming out, and that's all 35mm photographs. That's going to be released in 4K with digital color. Then there's going to be another set of episodes, and unlike Project Newfoundland, where the 3D version is the exact same as the VR version and the two-dimensional version, each category is going to have its own episodes that are like going to have the same theme of the Milwaukee project, but they're going to be different episodes. They're not going to be the exact same episode in 4K as the 3D. So everything's going to be more unique. The 3D editions, though, they will release a fixed view VR, which is what I've been describing, and a two-dimensional video. So if you don't want to view them in 3D or VR, you can just watch them normally on a regular TV. And but then in addition to the 3D stuff, I was able to jerry-rig my GoPro and through the power of software. And now that there will be another section of episodes that's going to be VR with head tracking. The 3D VR, it's just looking at it. It's like sitting in a movie theater and watching a screen in 3D. And the irony is, even though you're in this giant VR headset, it feels like you're not wearing glasses. And your eyes understand it instantly. Okay, we're getting rid of this one. Okay, so that's set. This is like all this one sculpture. It's a pretty cool sculpture. I'm gonna get rid of that one. Oh, but the VR, there is actually going to be a version of the VR, and I've been looking around, and so it will actually work with the PlayStation VR, which is really exciting. I have to save up and get one, but the PlayStation VR works with the VR on YouTube, which is good, because I was getting worried. I was like, if I want it to work with this PlayStation VR, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get it to program for the PS4, which isn't a problem, but man, that was gonna be a whole ordeal. So I'm glad it's supported, and I'm sure Steam, like, I know there's a way to upload your VR content to Steam, and then people can buy it or download it for free. I believe they support up to like 5K, and then YouTube supports 8K VR stuff. And yeah, so there will be head tracking in that version. And with the VR, there's going to be no, like, the head tracking VR, the 180 degree. VR, there will be no 2D version or 3D alone version. And the VR is actually going to be in 3D as well. It's 3D VR. 3D. Okay. Okay, we're getting close. And this was a bigger episode. It's like an hour worth of footage. But I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Get back to work. I haven't even told you guys the best part of today. And, well, first, I'll tell you what we're looking for. We're looking for figures, so people, characters. You know what, this one, this can go to that second to last one of murals. I don't know why I didn't think of that. And it can go right at the end. It fits. It fits. But, so, we're out of eggs and milk. So we're gonna go to the store. And then I had some stuff I had to pick up at the pharmacy. So it's gonna be perfect. So we're out and about, my grandmother, my mom, and I. And we're gonna eat. And so my sister, about a couple months ago, said, oh, you know, well, go back even further than that. Like, maybe over 7 or 8 years ago, IHOP used to have potato pancakes. And so you order the potato pancakes, and they were good. You get sour cream and applesauce with them. That's usually what you dip on pancakes. It's kind of like the spread. You know, it's a standard thing. And about 8 years ago, they stopped doing that. They just got rid of it from the menu. It was like the only good thing at IHOP. Oh my goodness. We have more. What is this? Okay, so we don't need this one. But we do need to put that one somewhere. And and I'm telling another story, but we're going to slip back into the other one. So, I'm so glad we found a spot for this photograph so quickly. So they got rid of the potato pancakes. And then I went to take care of my grandmother. This was like 8 years ago. So now in 2013, I go to take care of my grandmother and be like a nurse. Not like, I was a live-in nurse for a year. And the extended family always liked to eat at IHOP. And again, no potato pancakes. By this point, I discovered I'm allergic to the planet. And I know I can't eat gluten, so I would get an omelet. And I was like, oh, this is fine. You know, just eat an omelet. Except every time we ate at IHOP, I would get violently ill within a couple of hours. And I was like, I don't understand. Why am I reacting to an omelet? And so, after a couple of years, IHOP finally put it on their menu that not only do they make omelets with eggs, they put pancake mix into their omelets. And it's just like, who does that? That is terrible. So their omelets are not gluten-free at all, which is like, why is that something you have to worry about? But it is. So I was like, well, at least, you know, my body's consistent. I can't sneak gluten in and not know it, if that makes sense. Essentially what I'm saying is my body isn't the placebo effect. It very much knows when it's getting It's not gluten. But seems like all of these are. Well, these are all the Milwaukee Museum of Art. Anyway, so IHOP was dead to me for years after they've been like slowly trying to kill me. And so like before I would eat a potato pancake, and so if I ordered the potato pancake when I was allergic, if they had it while I would have been allergic to everything, that would have been fine. And like potato pancakes are like my favorite. And anyway, I was concentrating. And so my sister, this year, she went to IHOP and she's like, hey, they have potato pancakes on their menu. And I was like, this is great. But, so that was like 6 months ago or so. And it's important to the story how long ago it was. Maybe not 6 months ago, it was like 4 or 5 months ago. And I was like, this is perfect. We can go back to IHOP. So I didn't go forever. And so then, we're running these errands with my mom and I, and we're like, let's try out that IHOP. They have potato pancakes. Let's go there. And we go there. And the other thing my sister told me about a couple of months ago is like, they are so slow. I was like, and so like it opened recently, but not too recent. So we're like, they must have their staffing, better now. And oh my goodness, they were beyond slow. And so I ordered, the potato pancakes, and the waitress was like making fun of me. She was like, potato pancakes? I have never heard of such a thing. We don't have potato pancakes. We have potato cakes. And then I was like, potato cakes? And then she thought about it and was like, we don't even have potato cakes. And then she was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And so I opened the menu and I was like, it says right here you have potato pancakes. And then she's like, oh, we do? That must be new. They've had it for like 4 or 5 months. And then, I kid you not. So then she makes fun of me for that. And so the potato pancakes are a side. It's no longer a meal. And it comes with 2 of them. So I tell her, it comes in an order of 2. I want 2 orders. So I want 4 potato pancakes. And she's like, okay, writes it down. Like she crossed out what she wrote before and then wrote down 4. I assume she wrote down 4. And so about 50 minutes goes past. And there's not a lot of people in there. It's me, my mom, my grandmother, and maybe 2 other parties, like small parties of people. And it's just like, it took 50 minutes to to get our food, which my grandmother got a crepe with which that probably took the longest to cook. The crepe shouldn't have taken 50 minutes, but that was the most complex thing. My mom got a grilled cheese sandwich, and then I got potato pancakes. So the food comes out, it took forever, and then there's only 2 potato pancakes, and I was like, I ordered 4, and the lady's like, oh, I thought you only wanted 2, and I was like, no, 2 orders. And then she was like, well, this is the 2 orders. And I was like, no, the menu says there's 2 potato pancakes in an order. I said 2 orders. And so then I opened the menu and show her. She's like, oh, I'll go have them make you another order. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then it gets worse, because my mom was like, do you want sour cream? And I was like, I actually do. So she comes back and I was like, this usually comes with sour cream and applesauce. And she was like, oh no, there's no option there on the cash register. And I was like, well, it used to come with it, And she was like, well, I don't know what to say. And I was like, well, could I have some, sour cream? And then she was, oh, no. Then my mom was like, well, do you have sour cream? And then she was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, well, then I'll have a side of sour cream. And it was like rocket science to this lady. And then it got so much worse. But yeah, then, well, going back, we were like, can we have, so before she was arguing with us that I didn't order 4 potato pancakes, I only ordered 2. And I was like, no, 2 orders. And then she was like, this is 2 orders. And I was like, no, an order has 2. And so then my mom was like, can we have a menu? Because like we can show you where it says that. And she was like, a menu? I don't understand what you're talking about. Why would you need a menu? And we're like, because you think only 2 potato pancakes come in an order. And then she was like, no, I can't get you a menu. I was like, it was phenomenally bad service. And like everyone there was so slow. Like the greeter who was supposed to, welcome people in, never stood at the front. People would walk in and wait there like 4 or 5 minutes, just standing waiting to be seated. And then the guy who would, I'm assuming is the manager, would run out to the front and they're like, oh, hello, welcome. And it's just like, you need to hire, like, the wait staff was legitimately 3 people, including the manager. And it's just like, you need to hire actual people to be out there, and greet people. Because, like, there were several older people who were just, like, they can't be standing for that long. Some of them were handicapped, but with, like, a walker and stuff. And it's just like, this is obnoxious. So they are absurdly slow. Our waitress was very rude to us, like beyond rude. And she wasn't being rude on purpose, but it was just, I mean, you might be wondering, like, how can you not be rude on purpose? It was just, like, a lot of times she just ignored us. Towards the end, I got iced tea and sweet iced tea, and I was like, you know what, can I have another refill? Because, like, it had been empty for a while. And so she was like, oh yeah. And so then she'd come by and drop off the check, and I was like, can I still have that refill? And she was like, oh yeah. So I kid you not, it was 40 minutes before I got the refill. And then she was like, oh, you want that refill? I'll get it for you to go. And it's like, I don't want it to go. I don't want, the trash in the car or anything. I just, wanted it for now. But I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, fine, to go. And so after she said she's getting it to go, another 10 minutes goes past, and this is when it reached 40 minutes. And so then it gets even better. She comes back to the table after the check has been signed and everything. And then she takes the check and she's like, oh, I'm really busy. I have to take the check and take the pen. And we're like, yeah, okay. And like, there's nobody in IHOP. And so she takes all that, and then it's an additional time after she took our check and everything. It took her 20 minutes. She dropped off the check, and it took her 20 minutes to come back to pick up the check. And then after she did the check, then it was another 5 minutes, and then she brought me the drink. And so it was like, it was horrible. And like, I don't think she was like forgetting. I think it was very much like, oh, I'll do it whenever I want. And it's just like, we had things to do. And I was like, dear Lord, it took 2 hours. It was like 2 hours and 15 minutes to finish the whole ordeal. And it literally took us maybe 15 minutes to eat the meal. But getting the meal, waiting for the check, waiting for like a refill of iced tea, all of that took a total of like 2 extra hours. So they've been open for like several months, and they are just as slow as ever. And it's just like I'm a slow person. I walk slow. I'm kind of, well, I mean, I am depressed, but I'm just, slower in general. Like, I take my time. I don't take my time. I try to do things fast, but it's just slower than the average person does it. But this was like painful. It was like, please move a little bit faster. And she wasn't like this. She was like this to everyone there. Like, I was watching her at other tables, and they'd ask for something, and it was just like... And so, then there was this other thing. There was this other guy who was a little bit faster. He was slow, too. He was very slow. And, so the table he was waiting at, it was a family of 4. No, it was... Yeah, it was a family of 4. And, they finished eating, and they left. Okay, so their dishes are all on the table. And I'm not a clean freak or anything, but this is like to illustrate how slow IHOP was. This IHOP was. They left, and they never picked up their dishes from the table. Like, the whole time we were there for 2 hours and like 20 minutes. 2 hours and 15 or 30 minutes. That family of 4 left. Maybe when we had been there 20 minutes. And they just left the dishes and everything dirty on the table. And it's just like, that's weird. Like, I never noticed how... Well, that's the other thing. A lot of times, the reason why waiters and waitresses will remove dishes, like, quickly from the table, is if you're, like, at a restaurant to party or something, and if you see how much you've eaten, you will order less. And especially if you see, like, all the empty plates of the things you've eaten, it was like, oh, I don't need to eat more. So it's kind of like those Disneyland tricks, where they try to trick you and say, like, oh, the line's really short, but really 90% of the line is hidden behind the wall. It's the same with food service, where they will take away the plates. So you look around and it's like, oh, I haven't eaten so much, when really you had appetizers, you had the entree, you had the salad. But they bring it out, and then you're like, oh, I can eat more, because your stomach... It takes like 15 to 20 minutes for your stomach to send the signal, like, stop eating. So then you keep on ordering more, and especially when you're with a large group, the trick really works. And so that's part of the reason why food services always tries to remove, as many plates as often as they can. It's all like a subconscious trick. But, So that said, that's what, most restaurants do. This one, it was just like, wow. And like, our plates at our table were stacking up. And it was just, I don't know. It makes me wonder, I'm not tooting my own horn, like, hoo, hoo, hoo. But when I went to work in retail, all of my managers were like, you have a really strong work ethic. I was like, what are you talking about? You go to work, you do the work. There's no plane, there's no phone. I was like, this should be standard. And I mean, I kind of saw that a little bit in retail. Like, there are other people who just kind of didn't want to be there, but it's just like, all the jobs I had before working in retail were really hard manual labor jobs. And so working in retail was like easy and fun. It was fun 90% of the time. But like I said, there were definitely some people that didn't want to be there, but they didn't show it. This was like, didn't care. And I was just like, you are so lucky to have a job, that pays you hourly. Like, I work in media, and you get paid based on like how good your project is done. So if you work, 9 months on one project and only one person sees it, you get like a penny if you're lucky. But like, to have like a job that Like, you work 5 hours and you get paid 4 or 5 hours. Like, that is the dream. And I'm going to be applying for more jobs like that. But it was just like, she did not care in the slightest. And I was like, oh. And I'm not saying that this is the person. This is the location. Like, my sister went there 3 or 4 times, and she's had the exact same experience with different people. So that was kind of like, wow. So I don't know how they're training people. It's probably that they never see anyone in the restaurant, and so the fact that there is somebody there, they don't have like people to practice on. I don't know. I really don't know. Getting rid of this one because it's exposed a little bit better. You can see me and my grandmother. She's in the wheelchair. I got the huge backpack and cameras strapped to me. Okay. So I know that sounds, like a huge complaint, and it is. It totally is, but just, you should, even if it's a job you don't like doing, you should still like it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, appreciate that, there are people that come to you and everything. I didn't phrase it right. Everything you do, you should care about, is what I'm trying to say. Even if it's something you don't like, you should always try to make it better. And that's kind of my motto. That like 99% of all the jobs I hate. Like this gardening job, it doesn't kill me, but it's just like, it feels like, you're hitting your head against a wall, because like I'm doing the work of 7 people, but I'm only one person, so it always feels like I'm behind. And that's kind of how I operate. I do way too much. I'm a binary person, or I'm either not doing something at all, or I'm doing it like 10,000%, which is not how math works. And mathematicians get really angry, and science people get angry when I say that. So that's why I say it, is just to anger the math people. But that's how I work. I'm either not doing it or overdoing it. So I'm trying to remember. We're going in order of. And this is why it's confusing me. We're going down the street, so I'm having them in order of going down the street, but they were taken at different times. So yeah, so this is it. So that was kind of my experience, and it was like wow. Cause and part of it is like, I get so nervous. I'm so afraid of doing something wrong. Like, I'm an introverted person, but I care very much what people think. I want everyone to be happy, and like, I want all my friends and everyone I meet to get along and have a good experience. So to work somewhere where you deal with people and just not care in the slightest, it's just like, I don't understand that. just do not understand. And so you might be wondering, like, maybe the person is just having a bad day. Maybe. But everyone that works there, whenever my sister comes, she ate there often. Every time, independently, different wait staff, they're all the same like that. So, I don't know. I've been brushing up on interview skills, and I read this one article, and it's really good. It's talking about what the questions actually mean when they're asking for, tell me about yourself. Spoiler alert, they don't care about yourself. They just want to know, what. So, like, the example was, like, if the interviewer says, tell me a little bit about yourself, they don't care about what you do in your free time. They don't care about that. They want to know, what you actually do in the workplace, if that makes sense. And so that's kind of like a trick question. But okay, so now what we're doing is we've organized everything, but we have to figure out what order we want our subcategories in. And so this is all, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go down the street. In kind of the order of going down the street. So this one would actually be first. And that one. It'd be nice if it's in order, but I know it's not. So this one actually does go next. And this is where it gets a little funky. A little funky. So this one will actually go last. And then we'll do this one. And there we go. So that's the order. And the other news is I got back the medium format film. So I had the preview late last week. And I'll do not a rerun, but we'll rebroadcast it live, a watch along. And so that was with the preview scans from the developer company. Once I get the negatives back, I scan them at huge, big files, bigly, in closer to 1:1 ratio of film grain to pixel. And so I'm scanning that as I'm talking. The whole time I've been scanning, and it's looking good. It's about 180 megapixels for each frame. It's medium format, so it's the same size as IMAX film, as an IMAX film frame. They actually used to use medium format cameras to shoot films in the IMAX range. Technically, it's hard to say how you would count, because with film there was a little space. There was part of the film was dedicated to the audio, so it's just like a tape recorder, but that's combined with the film. So, and then the other thing is 70 millimeter film is not 16:9. It's not even 2:3. It's some weird ratio. So in order to get a 70 millimeter and 16 by 9, you have to crop a lot of the 70 millimeter out. So, but anyway, it's complicated, but medium format cameras were used to shoot 70 millimeter film, and so that's why when I post things like, oh, I'm working with IMAX quality film, that's what I mean. But so that's scanning, and we're gonna start editing pretty soon. Probably next week we'll start editing the color grades for the 80 millimeter film, and then this week what we're going to be doing is we're going to be finishing this up, and then we're going to start animating. And the 80 millimeter film will be released on YouTube in 8K, so that's going to be fun to render. But I'm looking forward to it. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. I will see everyone tomorrow. I'm going to do early afternoon, sometime between 12 and 3. I will we'll start Halo 5, and then later in the day, hopefully around, I want to start at 6, but that's not going to happen. So let's plan on sometime between 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern time. I will come back on and we'll do a creative stream where we'll be finishing up. This is the episode 5. Not episode 5. This is category 5 of the 3D footage. There are 11 categories, so we're almost over halfway done. The next one will be over halfway done. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. I hope to see everyone tomorrow for Halo 5 during the day, and then in the evening more creative. And have a good day. Bye bye.